Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Delves In, the YouTube channel where we read Reddit stories and scary stories. Arguably, the Reddit stories are scarier, but today I'm joined by my wonderful partner.
I'm Kat.
Or the Great Catsby on Twitch. That is GR8, cat with two T's. I am Delv14 on Kick, or just Delv on YouTube. And today we're going to be reading some creepypastas off of the Creepypasta website. We've got a couple of small ones here. We're just going to read a couple of stories, two real short ones. We'll switch off, and then we'll tie it off with a nice little Reddit story at the end. You know, I just wanted to. It's actually the first episode, so if you're watching this, good. Thank you. We appreciate your viewership. But I just wanted to start this YouTube channel because I've been really obsessed with reading scary stories and Reddit stories. You know, I work a job where I work 10-hour shifts, and so does she, so we work these really long days. And, you know, obviously we do listen to a lot of music, but I prefer to listen to, like, podcasts and stuff. And the podcasts that I tend to lean towards to just kind of help fill time are, you know, things where it's they're reading scary stories, conspiracy theorist videos, or Reddit videos. Like, those are like the main three that I really listen to. But I've come across a problem where, like, I just don't have enough to, like, fully fill all the days. So I figure maybe I'd throw my hat in the ring and help contribute to that, because maybe there's somebody else out there in my position that's working long 10-hour shifts and they just don't have enough of what they like to listen to. Obviously, there's 100 million podcasts out there in the world. But, you know, I don't know of many that do, like, specifically scary stories. Obviously, a lot of Reddit stories, but scary stories specifically. So I just want to read a couple of short ones. You know, something like Creepcast, they tend to read one really long story, or maybe like 3 medium stories. I just want to read a couple, you know, keep it under 45 to 30 minutes. And, you know, they kind of read good stories. I kind of want to read some real shitters. So if you like shitty horror and just obnoxious people on Reddit, stick around. Rent a room and hang out here at the old Delves Inn. So without further ado, I'm going to read to her the story Mr. Smile. This has an 8.36 out of 10 stars from 687 voters. It is written by Alice Thompson, and it I was trying to find the date when it was published, but January 10th of 2020. This is a 4-year-old story. It actually just turned 4, like what, 2 days ago? It's January 12th today? Or 11th?
I think it's the 12th, yeah.
It just recently hit 4 years. It's a short read, it's 6 minutes, so without further ado, this one does seem to be a good story, but what I've learned with the Creepypasta website particularly is just because it has good reviews doesn't mean it's good. There's a good chance it may still be a shitter. And I haven't vetted any of these, neither has she. So if this is a shitty story, obviously all of this is getting cut. So we'll see. Alright. It was in early November of 1997 that a series of very strange sessions led a child psychologist in Maine to contact the authorities. It began when a patient of his began to tell him about one of their friends. That friend being imaginary as far as both the psychiatrist and the boy's parents were concerned. He called his friend Mr. Smile and would talk about him at great length during some sessions. The boy called him Mr. Smile both because he would always be smiling and because when he was around, the boy said everything felt happy. He said that there was a feeling of everything being okay. The boy in question was being treated for serious issues to do with anger and depression, but when Mr. Smile was around, he said that all the anger and sadness seemed to just disappear. He said that Mr. Smile wouldn't speak, but rather just stand there at the foot of his bed. He smelled like candy floss, and just by being there, he made the boy feel calm and safe. So Alice is British. British people call cotton candy
Candy floss.
Candy floss.
Okay.
So, got him. Good work, detective. We figured it out. I always, there's a couple of, like, cultural details you can always pick up. Okay. Like who the author is. You know, if they say, like, candy floss, shit like that. If they say, they say chips instead of fries. You know, shit like that. Mm-hmm. And you can tell if someone's from the Midwest if they say pop instead of soda.
True.
And those people need to be fucking beat to death. It's a soda, bro. All right, my bad. The psychiatrist assumed this imaginary friend was some sort of coping mechanism the boy had developed to deal with the problems at home that had led to his violent temper, and thought nothing much of it. Until another patient, a girl of about 9 years old, also began talking about her imaginary friend, Mr. Smile. And then a boy of 7, and then a boy of 12, and then a girl of 11. All in close to 15 separate patients all began to talk about Mr. Smile. The first few he put down to coincidence. After all, many children have imaginary friends, and the name and description of Mr. Smile were just generic enough that it didn't concern him too much at first. But as more and more of his patients told him about Mr. Smile, he began to grow concerned. He asked for more details. Every single one of them described him the same way, using the exact same words. Now, there was no way that all of these children could be in contact with each other. 5 of them, for instance, were currently being homeschooled, and according to their parents, when he spoke to them, never really even left the house, except when it was to accompany them on shopping trips and the like. There was no way that every single one of these kids could have rehearsed or prepared their statements together, which led him to a deeply disturbing conclusion. He spoke privately with each of the children's parents one at a time. He avoided disclosing too much information, but told them that something troubling had cropped up in multiple sessions with various patients, and that he believed that there was a chance their child was at risk. He asked for their permission to discuss matters with the authorities, and the parents gave their consent, provided they were kept in the loop as to what was going on. And so, over the course of the next week, the police came and talked to the children about their friend. They asked for details about his appearance, which they couldn't seem to describe apart from the smile, and that he was not like them. How he got into their house, anything he said or did while he was there. Because at this point, the psychiatrist, the parents, and the police were all convinced that Mr. Smile was quite real and quite dangerous. The authorities had checked to make sure that there were no known predators living in the area, which they had confirmed was not the case. But it was quite clear that whoever this Mr. Smile was, he was a real person who had been sneaking into the homes of these children at night. What do you think so far? We locked in?
We are locked in.
We're locked in?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the vibe right now? Let's rate it out of 10, how we think the setup is, and then we'll rate it again once we get towards the end.
Setup's pretty good.
Setup's good?
I would say they're not spending too much time writing. They're kind of like getting into the story.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. They're not getting hung up on details. They're chronologizing this very quickly.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
I doubt it's going to be an actual child predator.
Oh, no. It's going to be like some absolute monster. You know what I mean? But like something that I've noticed about a lot of these stories is like they'll have a really solid setup, and then like the ending is like they didn't know how to do an ending. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the times like the story is like an 8 out of 10 up until like the last like bit of the story, and then they just don't know how to tie it together. Right. Or they don't know how to like maintain the thrill, if you would. But I'm liking the setup so far.
Same.
Okay. None of the children claimed to know how he got in. They said that they would just wake up and he'd be there at the foot of their bed. Sometimes they said he would be singing something, but not in English. It sounded like a lullaby, they said. It made them feel safe. Finally, the children were asked to draw Mr. Smile, as they couldn't put into words how he looked. Each and every one of the children picked up a red crayon and proceeded to color in the entire page until it was just a rectangle of red. When asked about this, they insisted that they had drawn Mr. Smile. When asked where his head, arms, and legs were, they would just insist that they had drawn those. They claimed that they had drawn a perfect picture of the man at the foot of their bed, and when they were told that they had simply colored in the page and not drawn anything at all, they became deeply angry, feeling that they were being accused of lying, and insisting that what they had drawn was a picture of the man they had seen. Acting more on a hunch than anything else, the psychiatrist decided to show one of the colored rectangles to the various children and ask them what it was. Each and every one of them, with no knowledge of what the picture was and supposed to be, or who had drawn it, and with no knowledge that the other children that had been spoken to about this subject even existed, replied that it was a picture of Mr. Smile. Cameras and baby monitors were placed in the children's rooms so that they could be monitored. Many of the parents simply stopped sleeping altogether, staying up all night, staring at the screens that displayed where their children slept. At no point did anyone enter or exit the bedrooms. No sounds, except for them snoring or occasionally talking in their sleep, were heard of over the baby monitors. There was no sign of Mr. Smile. Almost 2 weeks of this. Many of them began to doubt that Mr. Smile had ever existed. Other psychiatrists since have put the whole thing down to some strange shared delusion that, while it couldn't be explained yet, did not have any basis in reality. Some suggested that maybe this whole Mr. Smile thing had its basis in a TV show or film that the children had all watched, leading them to dream up something similar. Then one of the boys went missing. The camera in his room had gone dead at around 2 in the morning. His mother had run to check on him, only to find the room empty. It had literally taken her less than a minute to run to his room. There was no possible way for him to leave, or be taken, and be out of her sight in the time it took her to leave her bedroom and run towards his, but he was gone. She said there was a smell, like cotton candy, in the room. Damn, they're going back and forth on the cotton candy bit.
Yeah.
Thought it was fairy floss. The search...
Did you just say fairy floss?
Yeah.
Isn't it candy floss?
I think it's also called fairy floss.
Is it?
I think so.
I like fairy floss better.
Yeah, I swear I've heard fairy floss used to describe cotton candy before.
Okay.
The search for the boy turned up nothing. No one had seen anything strange or unusual around the home before or during the disappearance, and no trace of him was ever found. It was less than a week later that one of the girls who had spoken of Mr. Smile vanished as well. Then another one of the boys. One by one, each of them began to disappear, until only 4 remained. The 4 remaining children began to talk about how Mr. Smile and his friends were going to take them away soon. When asked about these friends, they talked about how Mr. Smile lived with the other smiling men in the happy place, and that he would take them there soon. They said that there were lots of people there already, and that in the happy place, everything was beautiful. They said that they knew about it because Mr. Smile talked to them in their heads, because he couldn't talk like other people did, and that he would show them pictures in their heads of the place they were going. Things began to get increasingly disturbing. After a few weeks, the children began complaining of headaches and nausea. Their schools reported that they had begun to suffer hallucinations, and 2 of them started complaining that they didn't like the place that Mr. Smile was showing them anymore. One began screaming for half an hour, acting as if they were having a fit and screaming for the colors to stop, that the colors were horrible and that they needed them to go away. One of the children claimed that Mr. Smile was talking to them in their head all the time now and was telling them things, terrible things, but that they couldn't talk about it, that they mustn't, because then their parents would know about the terrible things too. The psychiatrist asked them to write down what Mr. Smile was saying, promising that he would show it to no one, managing to gain the trust of one of the boys enough that he agreed. The contents of the book are shown only to him and the authorities, but whenever anyone involved has been asked about it, they just get real quiet and quickly find an excuse to change the subject. The children stopped sleeping. Footage from the security camera showed them sitting bolt upright, their eyes unblinking, just staring at the wall without moving or making a sound. Sedatives did nothing. One of the girls began cutting strange circular marks into her skin, while 2 of the boys ceased communicating in English altogether. The language they spoke was never identified, and despite numerous people being asked to listen to them, they could not translate what they were saying. By the start of 1999, all 4 of the children had vanished into thin air. There was no trace of who took them. Searches have turned up nothing to this day, with no indication of where they are or if they've been dead or alive. No suspects have ever been found either. All 4 of them appeared to simply vanish into thin air, much like the others, all of whom also remain missing, their disappearances unexplained. The end. What do we think?
For as short as it was, I thought it was good.
I think it does a pretty good job. It's definitely one of those stories you can read and digest very quickly.
Yeah.
Like that was something that it doesn't get caught up trying to like do anything else other than deliver a very spooky message.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
They don't over-explain or under-explain anything, I think.
Right.
Pretty solid. That's actually a pretty good story.
Agreed.
I don't know if I'd put it quite at an 8 because it does seem a little generic.
Sure.
Like Mr. Smile, and then it's just a dude who smiles.
Yeah.
Like, you know, cool premise, but like realistically, you know, it's been done before.
Sure.
Like that premise.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. That wasn't a bad read.
Agreed.
So I guess it's your turn. You know, fiddle fuck around on this thing.
Okay.
See if you can't find you a story.
Okay. This one's titled The Jinn.
Okay.
And I feel like it's fitting.
And that's Jinn the ghost.
Yes.
Okay.
But it doesn't have a good score.
Perfect.
It has
my God, perfect.
It has a 5.6 out of 10.
That's not bad though.
From 173 votes.
That's bog standard. Like that's average.
Okay.
Like it's not good, it's not bad. Okay, so who's the author?
The author
Scroll
is
up. It should be right in the scroll down. It should be there.
𝗦𝗃𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗃.
All right. I think that's schism, but
𝗦𝗃𝗲𝗃.
all right. When was this dated? What's the date? Scroll up. This is September 27th, 2019. So this is a 5-year-old story. 5 stars, written by 𝗦𝗃𝗲𝗃𝗲.
Yes. The video call connected and my boyfriend smiled. First, I love you and I miss you and I can't wait until you come home. I love you too and I can't wait either. I peered at the computer screen. Where are you? I'm in the attic, Brody replied. When I put my archery equipment up here, I found something cool. He had just purchased an old house in Houston in a quiet neighborhood that I'd hoped would someday be our neighborhood. We dated for 3 years now, and I thought he might propose after my college graduation in the spring. What's your problem?
Nothing. Read the story.
Sorry.
Chad, she just looks at me and goes, "What's your problem?"
You like threw your hand down. I thought you were gonna have something to say. That's my bad.
It's just how you said that. She just looks at me, she looks right through me and goes, "What's your problem?" Like, bro, I don't have one. I'm just sitting here. Damn, dude. My bad.
Alright, I need to lock it.
Yeah, lock in, dude. Seriously.
Check this out. He pulled a dusty chest under the dangling light bulb so I could see the inscriptions. It looked Arabic. He opened it and pulled out a triangular-shaped amulet made of silver. It had the same markings. Next, a tiny sliding box that contained bits of paper and wood and some unidentifiable chunks. Smells like jasmine, he said, sniffing it. The next item was a drawstring bag. He opened it and poured the contents in his palm. Ugh, toenail clippings? What the hell? The last 2 things in the chest were a tattered copy of that word. Quran and a box of glass balls.
You know what the Quran is, right?
Not off the top of my head, no.
The Quran is like the Muslim Bible.
Okay. See, I wanted to say that, but I didn't want to seem dumb.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what the Quran is.
Ornaments? No, there's no place to put a hook or string. There are 3 clear ones and this one. He held it up for inspection. It was nicotine yellow.
Ew.
Chat W nicotine for real.
All my pillows at home are nicotine yellow.
That is no. They're not even yellow anymore.
What would you call it? Orange?
They're poo brown. I swear the ball lurched in his palm. It crashed to the floor and shattered. Something flashed like fire. Brody cursed. What was that? I cried. I don't know, he said, staring at something out of my line of sight. He cocked his head, listening. Brody, he said, then Dawnette.
Dawnette?
Dawnette.
Like a name?
What? Dawnette was his mother's name.
Oh, horrible name.
Brody looked blankly at the screen and said, I have to go. Without another word, he ended the Skype call. I tried to call him back and he didn't answer. He didn't answer that night. Finally, the next morning, he did. I'm a little busy right now, he said, his voice heavy. Are you okay? Yeah, he said, and ended the call. I heard nothing from him the next day, so I called his sister and asked her to check on him. She called back an hour later. Her voice was guarded and she said, yeah, Aaliyah, I saw him. He looked a little rough. Look, have you guys been fighting? What? No. He just looked at me when I told him you were worried. He was fine yesterday. We were making plans for Christmas break. Another hesitation. He acted almost stoned. I've never known Brody to. He doesn't. Ever. Well, just give him a day or two. Maybe he really is just busy with something. I'll let you know if I hear from him. But she didn't. I didn't either. He ignored my calls and texts. This was so unlike Brody. My stomach was in knots, and I don't know how I made it through finals. I thought about the strange things he'd found. It had to be connected. My grandmother was originally from Bangladesh and a Muslim. My father didn't practice any religion, but I'd taken a class on Islamic traditions last semester. I'd love the professor and drop by her office in the morning before my flight home. Aaliyah, what a nice surprise. Her smile faded when I told her about Brody's find and that strange video call. She went to the shelf and picked up a book. Thumbing through the pages, she stopped and handed it to me. Did the markings and amulet look like this? Yes, what is this? We didn't discuss it in class much, but the Quran holds that there are 3 sapient creations of Allah: angels, human, and jinn. The objects you describe were used by magicians to control and use jinns to their bidding. Sometimes they trap these creatures in glass balls. A jinn? I laughed. You mean a genie? The things you described are evil magic. You said he'd repeated his mother's name? The legend is a magician needs 3 things from you to discuss you with the demons. A name, your mother's name, and a trace. Hair, nail clippings. You don't believe in genies? She looked at me for a long moment and then said, I'm sending you an email with the passages to read to ward off Jinn possession. When you see Brody, why don't you just try it? And Aaliyah, be careful. I laughed off her warning, but my heart felt heavy when I knocked on Brody's door that afternoon. He opened on the 3rd knock. His appearance shocked me. He looked tired, unshaven. He stared at me as if I were a stranger. Brody, what's going on? Something fitted in the hallway behind him. Flitted?
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
So, how much time has passed? Because she's like, he looks unshaven. And it's like, you just saw him on a video call like a day ago. How much hair could he have possibly grown in like a day?
I don't know.
Or a few days, you know?
Well, she was going on a flight, right? For Christmas break. He had moved to Houston.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think it says.
But I mean okay. Sorry.
But that's a good point.
I didn't want to like...
It's all happening very fast, so you could assume that it was fast.
Yeah, that's true. I may not have been paying attention. There may have been a time jump, but it just seemed like it was a weird detail. She's like, he's so unshaven, and I'm like, didn't you like video call him a few days ago? Like, I get he's possessed, and she's trying to like, you know...
Perhaps he could be the kind of dude that shaves every day.
True. If there's a dude who like... I get that. It's just a weird comment, I think.
That's
First of all, why don't you not like make fun of my man? Because like, oh, he must be possessed. He hasn't shaved. It's like, bro, leave him alone.
She's not leaning on the possession part yet. She's just saying he looks rough.
All right, well, let's keep reading.
Something flitted in the hallway behind him, like the aftermath of a camera flash. I swear for an instant I saw a woman made of flames. He glanced behind him, then back at me. You should go. He shut the door in my face. I waited till nightfall and took the hidden key to let myself inside. The house was quiet as I crept through it, searching for him. When I peeked into his bedroom, I gasped.
So she's trespassing?
Yes.
He's like, leave. And she's like, yeah, right. I've got a key, bitch.
That's what you do when you care about somebody.
Okay.
I would do it. Brody lay prone on his bed, staring at the ceiling. The flame woman sat...
That's not prone. That's supine. Prone is belly down. Look up, everyone right now, look up the definition of prone. Prone is belly down, back up. Supine is back down, belly up. If he's laying looking at the ceiling, he's supine, not prone. Continue.
Brody lay supine?
Supine.
Supine.
S-U-P-I-N-E.
Supine on his bed.
Opposite of prone.
Staring at the ceiling. The flame woman sat on top of him.
Yo. They fucking, bro.
Her head whipped around when she saw me, and she hissed, revealing a pair of inch-long fangs. I ran.
Iraq.
I
Get it?
through the house. Doors sounded like gunshots as they slammed. The front door wouldn't open. I screamed and jerked on it. She was coming. The attic ladder was down, so I lunged up the steps. I dug out my cell phone, trying to frantically...
Wait. I'm trying to think of the layout of this room. So she leaves.
She runs.
She runs out of the bedroom to the front door.
Yes. It's locked.
It's locked.
Yes.
So so she turns, and then there's an attic. Where? Next to the front door?
Maybe?
That's a weird house. Who puts an attic right next to the entrance?
I don't know.
Her instinct is to run upstairs into an attic.
She was trying to hide. I mean, I wouldn't personally go for the attic, but...
I feel like no one should go for the attic, you idiot. Go for a window. All right, continue.
Well, no, maybe she's going up in the attic to go look at the stuff.
Even worse idea.
She's trying to save
Like,
Brody.
oh, I know what I'll do. I'll go fuck with all of that weird shit that spawned it in the first place. Okay, continue.
I dug out my cell phone, trying to frantically open the email from my professor. Sorry to yawn. Okay.
She ran into the attic and pulled her phone out.
Yes.
And didn't think to call 911. She's like, fuck, I gotta reread this email. I forgot what was in it.
Through the opening, Brody and the flame woman stared up at me.
The flummin'?
No one laughed at that. The door swung shut. I've been here for hours. I screamed the passages my instructor sent until both my voice and my cell battery died. Now I smell smoke. Yeah.
Oh no. That's how it ended? Oh, dude, that's a 1.
That's a 1?
The ending is she runs into the attic, she gets locked up there for hours, and she doesn't think to call 911. She just reads an email for hours until her phone dies.
She's chanting the things that her professor told her to.
That she didn't.
To unpossess Brody.
She didn't think to call 911.
Should I call 911? Sorry.
Chat, no one laugh at that. I'm sorry, dude. That was... Not only was it a bad ending, but I'm confused.
I'm not gonna lie. I liked the story setup. I thought it was cute. It's about a couple. They're long distance. And then, I mean, out of anyone, she would know if something was like wrong with them, right?
You know what it feels like to me?
Huh?
It feels like this person played Phasmo, liked the word Jinn, Googled it, went, whoa, and then did their best. Like, this is clearly like a non-Muslim person, like trying to make a short story about a Muslim demon, essentially.
Okay.
And she didn't do a very good job of that.
I don't like how it ended.
It's a horrible ending. It's an okay setup.
Yeah.
The
setup
problem
was better than the ending.
I think my problem with this story, and I really don't want to like shit on like the authors or anything, because everyone writes, everyone doesn't write good. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So like, I'm not saying that she's a bad writer. I'm just saying she did not write this story very well, is what I'm saying. Because she learns and grows, you know? If
Totally.
she keeps writing, I'm sure she'll get better and better and better. But as far as this story goes, I feel like my criticism for it would be, if you're going to write a story about a Jinn, don't spend so much time explaining what it is. Show, don't tell is what I'm saying.
Okay.
A lot of this story is her professor just like exposition dumping. You know what I mean?
There's only one part of the story.
What do you talk?
Or 2 parts, rather.
What did you? What? What do you think my complaint is? What do you think I'm trying to say?
That they're leading to water too much.
Kind of. My point is that you should show, don't tell. Not necessarily lead us, but like instead of explaining it by literally making a character just tell you what it is, she should have described what it literally does. So she should have spent more time showing us the Jinn doing all of these things rather than just have the professor explain all the things a Jinn is.
Sure. I was also, you know, my whole point about like, oh, maybe she's going up in the attic to like go investigate whatever that other shit is. She didn't.
No.
So.
Yeah, no, she didn't. She was
I would have thought that would be like a step in the story.
Well, it's very interesting to me because I don't know where the flame woman part comes from.
Me either.
That felt, I don't know, and I don't know anything about like, you know, classical Islamic folklore or anything like that. But I don't know if a flame woman has anything to do with a Jinn or how that works. I don't know if they were implying that the two of them were sleeping together.
I was about to say also that part, her being on top of him. In what way?
Yeah, was she killing him? Was she siphoning his energy? Was she fucking him? I don't know what that was implying.
Me either.
Because she doesn't really show anything. She just says it how it is.
Right.
I walked in, she was on top of him, I left.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, dude, let's be a little more specific.
Yeah, and the fangs were interesting. It was an interesting detail.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I'd give it a 4.
I give it a 3.
Okay.
But not bad.
Not bad.
All right, and now this is the part where you want to switch over to Reddit and read a Reddit story, or do you want to do another spooky?
Reddit.
Let's do a Reddit. All right, chat. So we've got 2 Am I the Asshole stories coming at you. Read the title of the first one.
Am I the asshole for refusing to pay alimony?
Initial predictions. Do you think he's the asshole?
I don't know. It depends.
I'm gonna say not the asshole, because if he was the asshole, he would know and wouldn't go to Reddit for it. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of people do that.
Right, but a lot of people are tone deaf, and I just don't know if this guy's so tone deaf. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think he might have a good reason.
We'll see.
I bet the reason is just his wife's a whore. I bet that's what it is. Yeah, let's read it.
Okay. I met my wife in my early 30s. She was in her mid-20s at the time. I was already well established and had made a significant amount of money working as a quant. Is that how you say that?
As a what?
Quant.
Yeah, I guess so. I've never heard of that.
In investing my savings diligently. She, on the other hand, had never gone to college and was content working for basically minimum wage. So when I met her, we clicked instantly and I fall head over heels for her. We get married and move in together, and soon after have 3 kids. When we were expecting our firstborn, she had told me she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Obviously, I was jealous, but I went along with it since it seemed logical. So she spends the next 20 plus years as a stay-at-home mom, so they're in their like late 50s.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, no.
Early.
Are they?
He said that they met when he was in his early 30s and she was in her mid 20s.
Well, they're talking about alimony though, so if he's in his 50s, that's 18 years. So that wouldn't make sense.
She spends the next 20 plus years as a stay-at-home mom.
Oh, okay. Where's the alimony come in then?
Well, because they're going to get divorced apparently.
Okay.
Taking care of our kids while I work 12-hour days and then some.
Taking care of her kids, he says?
Sorry. Taking care of our kids.
Okay.
While working a 12-hour days and then some. I'm not demeaning stay-at-home moms, by the way, but in the context of our marriage, she had an extremely easygoing lifestyle. A couple years ago, I discovered she had been cheating on me with her friend's husband.
Got him. Oh, her friend's husband? Oh, she wrecked 2 homes.
Double homicide.
Oof, double homicide.
Divorce obviously followed. The only major asset we had in the U.S. was our house, which was a premarital asset. We had a shared bank account, but since I am a finance guy, I handled all of our investments and for tax reasons invested it abroad in my home country. Now, if we had just grown apart, or she said she was unhappy, I'd have no problem paying what's fair. But the fact that she cheated on me is what makes me resent paying her a cent. So in the divorce, she is awarded half of our investments made during our marriage. greater than 90%, which are abroad in my name, along with alimony for 20 years for 30% of my pay. Okay, so if we're reading this correctly, they got married and had kids, and then she stayed at home for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And then she's getting 20 years of alimony on top of that.
Yeah. Yes.
So, just to like give a disclaimer, I have divorced parents. Alimony in my mind is for taking care of your kids.
No, that's child support. Alimony and child support are two different things. Alimony is traditionally, and laws have such not changed with the times in the United States, but 100 years ago, alimony was made because most women were stay-at-home moms and they didn't hold jobs. So if they got divorced, the mom would be broke. And so a lot of women, they noticed a lot of women would stay with their husbands because, yeah, sure, he beats the shit out of me and he's an alcoholic, but if I leave, I'm going to go starve to death and freeze to death because I can't afford a house or a car or food.
I see.
So
For some reason I thought it was like all in one.
So they invented alimony way back in the day for that, and it was kind of an incentive to like help women like leave their husbands if they were a complete piece of shit. Okay. So not only does the husband have to pay for their wife, but the wife can afford shit. But now most women have a job anyway, not many of them are stay-at-home moms. But sure, alimony is still huge, and the laws really haven't changed at all.
Okay, so she would be getting alimony into her 60s.
Yes.
For 30% of his pay.
Yeah.
So here I am given an opportunity to get out of this entirely by moving back to my home country and never looking back. So I sell our house as fast as possible, moving the money abroad, and move back to my home country while stringing her along about why it's taking so long to liquidate our savings. Once abroad, I immediately stopped paying alimony. Now she has no legal recourse. I've double-checked with lawyers, and is left with her share of the small amount we had in the States. The reason I'm asking here is that my own children are split on this. My son is on my side 100%, while my daughters are 90% on their mother's side. I figured it would be interesting to see the opinions of people here.
Well, I think he's an asshole, but I don't think he's wrong. Does that make sense?
I agree.
Yeah. He does sound like a douchebag, kind of a piece of shit. Just the way he, like, talks about his wife. Which, you know, she cheated on him, so I'm sure he's mad. I get that. But, you know, calling himself like, I'm a finance bro, I dealt with all of her finances. Kind of seems like a douchebag. But she chose to cheat on him. You know, she chose to be unemployed and not have a job and all of that. Their kids are fully grown. So, they get a job, dude.
Yeah, the cheating, if it were anything else, he would definitely be...
If he cheated on her
asshole
and did that, he's definitely the asshole. And you do have to take a grain of salt with these. Maybe that is what happened, and he's just lying about it in the post. There's no reason for him to omit that detail. Or keep that detail, you know?
Sure.
So it's possible. But yeah, I don't know. It is... it'd be one thing if it was child support, but it's not. It's alimony.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I get it, dude. I wouldn't want to pay your fucking wife for being a whore either.
Yeah.
Especially not for 20 more years.
And I could see, like, the other side of it where people are like, you know, that's just gonna fuck her up really bad because who's gonna hire someone in their, like, 40s and 50s to do anything for, like, a livable wage? She didn't go to college, like, and she gave up her life to, like, raise the kids.
Yeah.
And so how is that fair? It's like, well, don't cheat.
Yeah, she chose to throw that away because she had the opportunity to literally do nothing for the rest of her life, but she chose to fuck around.
Well, and if she wasn't I just believe if you're unhappy in a relationship, just don't do that. Do anything but that.
Yeah. Well, also too, because it's not even like she, like, fell in love with, like, somebody else, you know? It's like she fully just went and fucked her best friend or her friend's husband. So right. Yeah. So yeah, is this the next story?
Yes.
Okay. So, what was your opinion on the last story?
not wrong. I don't know. I'm gonna go not the asshole.
Yeah, I don't feel like he's the asshole for the sense of like what the story is, but I can just kind of tell from the way he writes that.
He himself may be an asshole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. But I don't think he's wrong.
Yeah, I don't think he's wrong either.
But yeah. All right, our next story coming at you from how do you find their name on Reddit?
I don't know.
Like who wrote this? I was trying to see like their name.
I don't know.
Anyway, all right, this is on Am I the Asshole? Am I the asshole for being okay with cheating unless it's my own relationship? I'll make this short and sweet. I'm dating somebody now and I would never cheat on them, and I'd hope for / expect them to never cheat on me too. We got in an argument earlier because I admitted that before I met him, I didn't see a problem with me being the other woman because quite frankly, they weren't my relationships, and if somebody expressed asshole, I'm already mad. 4 sentences in and I hate this person. Because quite frankly, they weren't my relationships, and if somebody expressed interest in me, I felt it was okay because I'm not cheating on / breaking trust with a partner. I'm just living out a fantasy or a kink, along with the man I'm sleeping with, who is as well. My boyfriend's point of view is that cheating in any form by all parties is wrong, and he doesn't know if he can trust that I won't cheat on him because I've openly admitted to being the other woman. My point of view is that I love him, and I would never want to hurt him in that way, and it wasn't my fault that the men in the other relationships lied to their partners, and it's not my fault that they wanted to do those things with me. I will admit that it can be morally questionable to be a homewrecker, but I feel like the blame should be on the person actually in the relationship, not the person who was chosen. So Reddit, am I the asshole for being okay with being other people's cheating? First comment, you're the asshole. Funny you wouldn't want it done to you, but you have no problem being a catalyst for extreme emotional turmoil in someone else's relationship. Yeah.
I have a lot to say.
That's a little cut and dry. Definitely the asshole.
Yeah.
Lot to unpack though.
Yeah. Being someone who's been cheated on before, absolutely detrimental to not just your current relationship, but your trust for the rest of your life.
Right.
I thought this was going to go in a way of like, oh, like when I hear about, you know, the infidelities in other people's relationship, it just doesn't bother me as much. But like not being involved, but actively being involved, they're playing that line of like, it's not really my fault. And like, yes, the reality is if you were not the person that was the homewrecker, they were going to probably find another person that would be the homewrecker instead. But that still doesn't make it right. That still doesn't make you not morally flawed either.
That's like saying like, yeah, I sold him heroin and he OD'd on it, but if he didn't buy it from me, he was going to buy it from someone else anyway.
Exactly.
Like, but you did do it.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I thought it was going to, like you, I thought it was going to go in the direction of like, well, I have a best friend and she's cheating on her husband, but I don't really mind that she's cheating on her husband because she's still my friend. I thought that's what it was going to be.
Yeah, same.
But, yeah, no, that was crazy. Like, she was like, well, I'm cool with being a homewrecker.
And like, I don't know. There is a kink culture around it.
Yeah, women love that shit. Every rom-com that exists is a girl cheating on their husband. Yes. Every Hallmark movie is just like, well, my husband works a lot, but then I went home and like I found my high school sweetheart, and so I had sex with him instead. Yeah. It's like, oh, how romantic.
And I don't know, 9 times out of 10, people that say all that stuff, if they were to be the one getting cheated on,
reverses it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And in a lot of cases too, it's very funny because like there is a particular kind of girl that like if their boyfriend cheats on them, they blame the woman, not their boyfriend.
Sure.
So it's almost like the weird inverse of that.
Yeah.
It's like I can't be blamed because I'm not the one cheating.
And that's a whole nother thing because I mean, the manipulation that comes with like the aftermath of getting cheated on is also crazy.
True.
You know, that's a whole nother thing, but you are the asshole.
Yeah, she's not just an asshole, but like the lack of self-awareness is also like how have you gotten this far in life? Like, zero accountability?
Do you know how many people are out in the world?
Yeah.
Just don't pick the ones that are in relationships.
Yeah.
Let them go fuck another girl, not you.
Because it's really one thing if, like, a dude comes up to you in a bar and he's like, hey, blah, 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 and then you guys fuck. But it's something else if he's like, hey, I'm married, and then you were like, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if he's married and he fucks you and he doesn't tell you, that's one thing.
Yeah.
You're a victim.
Yeah.
That's not your fault.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Like, sure, he cheated on his wife, but you're not a homewrecker for that.
Yeah.
But
you had no idea.
Exactly. And a lot of guys do that. You know what I mean? Like, they'll be married or they'll have a girlfriend and they'll go out. And
that does happen to a lot of people.
It does. Well. And so if that's the situation, not the asshole. But clearly she's aware that these men are in relationships and still chooses to sleep with them.
Right.
So, mega asshole.
Asshole and not a girl's girl at all.
Oh, no. She's not really even a boy's boy either.
Not a boy's girl either.
Yeah, because like she's sitting there because she's talking to her boyfriend and she's like, yeah, I mean, you know, I'd fuck some other dude if he was in a relationship, but I'd never cheat on you. And if I'm her boyfriend, I'm like, it sounds like you would.
Yeah, and it sounds like she took offense to the fact that he's like wary on if she would cheat on him or not.
She's like, you don't trust me? And he's like, fucking not anymore, dude.
Yeah.
Like, no. That's horrible.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, dude. I think that's a solid conclusion to what I guess we'll refer to as the pilot episode of Delves In. We appreciate all of you stopping by, coming in, getting cozy, listening to us tell some stories. I hope you guys like our set here. There's a lot of fun putting it together. Hopefully we'll be able to just crank out a lot of these episodes. I don't know if you guys will find all of these entertaining. Because, you know, we really don't vet these stories to see if they're actually good before we read them. So, you know, if you didn't like the stories or you didn't like us telling them, I'm sorry. But I had a lot of fun. So, like the video if you liked it. Leave a comment. Tell us you fucking hate us. We should ask the audience a question and leave in the comments. Think of a question while I finish the outro. You can follow her on Twitch at 𝗦𝗃𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗃. That is �GR8CATTSBY. You can follow me on Kick at DELVE14. Obviously, you can follow this YouTube channel. I'll leave a link in all of in the description of all the stories that we read through, both on Reddit and on Creepypasta.com. I would like to thank _𝗲𝗄𝗻 for all of the art that will be used on the channel and during the outro. And I would like to thank that's it. I'd like to thank you for joining me and reading those stories. You're a much better reader than I am. And that's it. All right. Goodbye.
The question in the comments. My question for you, chat, is what's your go-to coffee order?
What's your go-to coffee order?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
All right, don't panic. I'll do mine first. It's simple. Iced black.
Coffee? Like drip coffee?
What?
Coffee? Drip coffee.
What's drip coffee?
Like what we make downstairs.
Oh, sure.
Like you're not getting like a black Americano.
No, if I go anywhere, I tell them coffee, black, ice. That's all I tell them. Okay. Whether it's Mean Mug, if it's Starbucks, if it's Dunkin' Donuts, if it's a fucking wherever I'm at, I just look at them, I go, coffee, black, put ice in it. And give it to me. And don't charge me $10, you little motherfuckers. Why is coffee $10? What's your coffee order?
My go-to typically is an iced oat milk latte with an extra shot of espresso. I'm not a big flavor person. I'm not a sweets like in the coffee. I'll do it every once in a while, but not typically. I love oat milk so much. And I just love espresso. I love espresso, the taste of espresso better than drip coffee, me personally. Unless it's something like a French press or a pour over or something like that.
I don't know what any of that means. I just want the caffeine. Honestly, if they could just like give me... Do they make caffeine pouches like they do nicotine patches?
That's a good question.
I would fucking love those. If I wouldn't have to drink my caffeine and I could just put a sticker on me and get absolutely fucked up, I would.
The more you know.
The more you know. Chat, this episode is sponsored by caffeine patches. You have a problem. Goodbye.
I'm trying.